we can look at them and say, I don't frigging need you in my life anymore. Go the hell away and leave me alone. I don't need your drugs. I don't need your medical advice. I don't need your nutritional advice. I don't need you, and I'm certainly not going to pay you. Well, good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch. It's Saturday morning and a little after 10 o'clock, and I feel like making myself some bacon and eggs, and rather than being alone in my kitchen, I thought I'd invite you all to keep me company. More than likely, I'll express some opinions, but hopefully interspersed in all those opinions might be some really helpful tips. Little things that I think about all the time, and I say, you know, these things don't really warrant making a whole video about, but they're thoughts that I have in this brain of mine that I just simply can't turn off. And they come to me at various times during the day. Now, I'm in the process of working on a video right now. The purpose of that video is to basically just hammer home the extent of how the misinformation that we fight so hard to believe against all odds and against all advice, how that misinformation is just hurled at us from every direction, every minute of the day. And that became evident to me the other night watching broadcast TV and taking note of the commercials that came on every 5 minutes, and how many of those commercials, once you excluded the ones for cars and insurance and things like that, on evening primetime TV, it seems like most of the message basically is about food and drugs, with a little vanity and ego thrown in the form of commercials kind of aimed at the ego, and I'm talking about appearance, mostly women, of all these very expensive face creams and things. And we're just deluged with these messages one after another. How can we stay 5 eggs today? How can we not believe any of this stuff when it's everywhere and considered normal by everybody, especially the professionals, the doctors, the pharmacists, the nutritionists? After so many years of this, it has become a new normal. Unfortunately, that new normal is killing off the human race. We can't believe it. And yet, how can you not doubt your resolve? How can you not doubt your resolve to stay on a lifestyle that in most cases will skyrocket your cholesterol? When I think I've pretty well convinced myself, and hopefully you're following suit, that that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. And yet our entire medical establishment, insurance industries, and everything else focuses on that one marker, LDL. They don't even know why they focus on it. It's just the way it is. People claim it's settled science. I claim there is no science. No science. None. Zero. Zip. Nada. How can science be settled when there simply isn't any to be found? There are no studies that aren't conflicted, that aren't paid for by those who sell us the products claiming, and the drugs, to lower that deadly high cholesterol. And I'm talking about high cholesterol in healthy people who have lost the weight, who have gotten in shape, who exercise, whose other markers are all brilliant. Their sugar is totally under control. And that tends, it seems, to make that, quote, bad cholesterol, make that go up. Now, after enough research and study and just plain old common sense, I understand that when you're burning fat as a primary fuel, that fat has to get to the cells. Every cell in your body, it has to be trafficked. And since the bloodstream is the only highway that goes to every cell in your body, that fat has to get to your cells through your bloodstream, and in doing so, it's carried by lipoproteins. So it's just obvious and stands to reason that if you want to deliver all that fat where it's needed, you have to have the vehicles to carry it. And that's why our LDL goes up. We need it. It has nothing to do with cholesterol. Cholesterol is just one of the substances carried in the LDL. But LDL starts out as VLDL, leaves the liver, and it's carrying mostly triglycerides. And the triglycerides are the fuel and the fat, as well as some free fatty acids carried in the blood. But when we're sugar burners, which we've all become, until we figure this out, there's no need for vehicles to carry fat because sugar is aqueous. It is soluble in blood. It can be carried in the bloodstream independently of lipids and fats and all the markers. But if something fat has to be carried in the blood, it must be carried in a vehicle because it is fat soluble. Some of the most important vitamins that we need all over our body are fat-soluble vitamins. The only way to transport these fat-soluble things is in lipoproteins. So if your lipoproteins are not going up, it means, in my estimation, there is still something not completely right with your metabolism. And each of us individually has to figure out what that is. But when you get lean, and when you stop eating the poisonous food, the sugars and the seed oils, and the grains, which are still just sugars, when you stop all that, you can pretty well expect your LDL to go up. And what that does to us, that triggers panic. The medical community can't have that. Insurance companies are writing doctors letters telling them that, chastising them for not prescribing statins to people like me and you. And when you hear this message coming to you from every direction, that you need to do something about this, you need to lower that LDL cholesterol, and you're perfectly healthy, the advice they're giving you is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. They are telling you that you need to counteract the production of those vehicles necessary to carry those essential things, energy and nutrients and building materials, to every cell in your body. By lowering your LDL, in my opinion, not a doctor, but I consider myself a scientist. By lowering your LDL, you are starving your cells. And that can't be good. That can't be good. So, when your doctor tells you that she or he doesn't like the fact that your numbers are so bad and that you've got a deadly level of this high LDL, and that you're a walking dead person until you do something about it and get that number down. When they tell you that, ask them, where did they get that information? Now, you can't yell at them. You've got their ego. You've got the fact that that's how they make their living, that their life revolves around the fact that this one number has dictated the course of almost all medical treatment over the past 40 or 50 years. You're not going to change their minds. But ask them. How do you know that for sure? Show me the settled science, please. How can I believe you when you can't show me the source where you got the idea from? Did you get it from Ansel Keys? Come on. You'll excuse me while I beat my eggs. Thank you. So one of our biggest problems as carnivores is that we can be knocked off of this. We can be scared out of it, thinking that these people who are giving us information actually have a real basis other than, well, that's just the way it is. Everybody knows that cholesterol is bad for you. Now, we've got science right now. New science. There are some studies of the older science that basically says that people like me over the age of 60 that are in pretty good shape. In fact, more broadly across the spectrum of everybody, that the higher your cholesterol is, the lower your risk of mortality. And the lower your cholesterol is, the more and younger you're going to die. But they don't, they won't allow that message to get out. They won't allow it, unfortunately. It goes against their agenda to make us sick, keep us sick, not kill us. They want to make us sick, and they want to extend our lives with these drugs as long as they can, because that keeps us on their customer list. They don't want us healthy. We don't need them if we're healthy. The amount of money the drug companies make on me every year is zero. I am not the target audience for their TV commercials. And watch out for that video that's coming out where I talk about the TV commercials and the brainwashing that's going on. Maybe later today, maybe tomorrow. You're going to love that one. You're going to love that one. One of the biggest problems, one of the reasons most people, and this is important, do not succeed trying to adopt a carnivore lifestyle. Besides addiction, which we talk about all the time, is the influence coming from every direction, every minute of the day. Whether you're watching TV, listening to the radio, surfing on YouTube, sitting in your doctor's office, this information, this misinformation, is designed to scare you into thinking, well, what if I'm wrong? what if I'm wrong? Which is why you need to be firmly convinced that you are not wrong and that they are wrong. And that's a hard thing to do when it's you against friggin' everybody. And that's what it seems like sometimes. All the vegans, all the YouTube doctors, all the so-called scientists claiming that everybody knows this is bad, everybody knows this is going to kill you, this is settled science, when, like I said before, there is no science whatsoever. I have never had anybody be able to show it to me. Show me a single valid study done properly with no confounders or conflicted people that fund them. Show it to me. Show me one, just one. I just like to see one study other than those paid for by either the big drug companies or Coke and Pepsi. Show me one report from these ridiculous organizations like the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, that aren't biased towards their message, because guess who funds them? You guessed it. Big food and big pharmacy. Take out the agendas, take out the conflicts of interest. They have nothing left to back up their message, and yet they look at us like we are fools, stupid fools, because we dare to not worry about our elevated LDL. Don't let them do it. How can you not let them do it? Simple. Don't believe me. Don't believe just me. Start asking these questions and start doing the research yourself. Now, you can take my word for it if you think I'm a smart guy and I've done the research. Just like you take Ken Berry's word for it because he's done the research, and Anthony Chafee has certainly done the research. But beyond research is each of our N of one experiment of doing this, being unshaken in our belief that it is, as Ken Berry calls it, the proper human diet, that it does cure the chronic conditions. It does allow you to live pain-free. And I look at myself, and I'm a human being like everybody else. I'm not a different species or race that might react differently. We are human beings. We evolved on mostly an animal-based diet. We developed conditions and reactions to so many of the plant-based foods that still happen today. Maybe we've adopted to some of them, but by and large, we are still sensitive to those things. And when you eliminate all of them, most of the problems go away, unless you've done so much damage to yourself over the course of your life. But the main point I'm trying to make here today is you will not succeed. You will not succeed on turning your ship around personally unless you develop the resolve and the confidence that all of this crap is wrong. All of these people are wrong. They are all living a pipe dream based on non-existent science, and they are accusing us of being deniers and fools. And the only thing that happens to us when we stick it out, we can look at them and say, I don't frigging need you in my life anymore. Go the hell away and leave me alone. I don't need your drugs. I don't need your medical advice. I don't need your nutritional advice. I don't need you, and I'm certainly not going to pay you. Well, my breakfast is ready. I do get myself worked up every time I see the just the amount, dare I say the word, bullshit propagated on the human race by all of these people who may be well-meaning but just are ignorant and don't know any better. Think about all of that. Think about all of that. My little breakfast meeting here, it's kind of turned into a rant, but I don't know how to better make the point. I hope you got something out of this. I got something out of this. What they call the heart attack breakfast. 5 eggs, about a half a pound of bacon. I worked out this morning doing pull-ups and things. I'm 77 years old. You can't tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. Not with the way I used to be before I started doing this. Think about that before you let anybody shake your conviction. You can succeed on this. You can prosper on this. It's not going to happen overnight. It didn't take overnight for you to get in the shape you got in. But stop letting your friends and your family and the entire world bombard you with bullshit propaganda and talk you out of doing pretty much the only thing that can improve the quality of your life and let you live like human animals are supposed to live. Take the rest of the day off, and for God's sakes, eat meat.